joining us. Really excited to have this conversation. So, Erica, now that you're in, why don't you introduce yourself and let all of the ladies who have joined know who you are and why we're having such a great conversation today?
Yes. So my name's Erika Vina. On Instagram, I am prosperity planning, a money coach. But really today's conversation is just us being mothers and navigating the corporate world, whether it's jobs and just really thinking about how much it has changed our own situation. So I wanted to introduce you, Quinn.
Yeah, well, thank you, Erica. And so my name's Quinn Chang, and I go by Cheers from Q on Instagram. It was interesting. Erica had reached out because I had left corporate back in December and had started just navigating my own what's next career pivot and conversations in my head. And I just started filming as myself talking about all of the things that I've thought in my head just out loud. And so I am someone who just left corporate after almost 20 years of corporate. And right now I'm just helping high achieving working moms and women just really think about the quiet math that's costing them the life that they're living, not just financially, but just time and energy and your presence. And so I've just been building that out loud on my Instagram. So, Erica, given your pivot as well, I think would love to hear a little bit more about kind of your journey financially with money growing up. And so just take us back, like, what did money look like growing up in your household? Like, was this talked about openly, or did you just kind of have to figure it out yourself?
Definitely in the figure it out myself boat. My dad was born in Mexico, so migrated here at age 5. My mom was born here in the States, but money was never really talked about in our household. And my parents owned a restaurant, so I was taught work ethic at a very young age. So waiting tables, helping the family. And then my parents got a divorce when I was around 8 years old. And so that was even another like, whoa, talk about money and how to make ends meet when you're being raised by a single mom. So there was no conversations. In fact, the fun that we had and being able to still go out on vacations or, visits or trips with our grandparents. I mean, I'm just so thankful. But in hindsight, looking back, I wonder, like, how did my mom even afford the things that she was able to provide us? And even to this day, like, I don't know if it's a cultural thing, but money is just something that is not talked about at family events or around the dinner table. So I guess I am now one of the the weird ones for looking into it and doing research, listening to podcasts, really plugging in, buying books. The Psychology of Money is one of my favorite books because it really helps you to reframe your own money mindset. But yeah, it has all come from having no knowledge, no education, but knowing how important it is to create wealth, that we have to learn these skills.
Yeah, and I very much can relate, Erica. In growing up for me, I my parents immigrated to the States, and so money was very much strapped growing up. And especially now being a working mom, thinking about how do we provide for our families, budgeting, finances is always just something that I have very much put in the forefront. And actually, as I've been talking about the quiet math that we as working moms and women have, finances is always the first thing that people have given me
Yeah.
feedback on, is that I can't leave my current job situation because financially people depend on me, my family depends on me. I'm also the eldest daughter, so I think there's a lot of that, like, I'm trying to show up and do all of the things. So it's all of these unspoken rules on just how do we not only better ourselves, but better ourselves for our family, whether it be financially or with time and energy too.
Definitely. And I know that you talk about the quiet math. That's how, I found your page and you just sharing your own journey and just being so honest. So I know when it comes to moms, when we're debating, right? Can we, do we stay in corporate? Do we pivot at some point? And you're calculating the commute, the daycare costs, right? The mental load. Like, am I actually turning off my brain when my kids get home or when I'm home from work.
Mhm.
So when did you start doing the quiet math for yourself, and what were you adding up?
Yeah. Um, what's really interesting is that was a thought that I've had in my brain for many, many years. And I was just like, I'm just going to put this on the internet and see if women can relate to it. And actually, over 250,000 women had related to it because the feedback that I've gotten in the comments is while you have clearly articulated
Mhm,
the stress and the mental pressure that I have gone under,
mhm,
thinking about my energy, the finances, the stability, my identity in terms of the quiet math of do I stay in what I'm doing? Or is there even the possibility of pivoting? And so when I had my son in 2023, after years of infertility, years of IVF and miscarriages, it was like, I finally had my baby boy. And then I was calculating my commute time, childcare costs, figuring out how much energy that I had at the end of the day for him, my mental load that we as working moms have that I don't think I really thought about it. And so then I had my twins. The next year, which is just back to back maternity leaves, back to back, thinking about, wow, even more costs. And then it was just not only the quiet math, but it's also, can I even do this? And I've climbed the corporate ladder. I did all the things. I leaned in and did all the things that I was told that I should be doing in order to be successful. And now I'm like, wait, did I climb that ladder to like not know where that ladder should fall? So that was really interesting. And I think that's something that I've been doing is I've recognized that it's all the things that I'm carrying that don't
mhm.
show up on paper, but it
Yep.
impacts every single decision that I have. And so that's actually something that I would love to learn from you, given that you are coaching women and working moms on just as you think about finances to support your family, like for the moms on here watching who's still in the job that maybe she might not be sure about or trying to figure out her next step, like what's one financial move that you would suggest that she make today that starts building on that foundation?
Yes. So if we're just going with one, I would say you have to know your expenses. So when it comes to budgeting, generally people know, you know your income, you know what comes in, and that's like a fixed number. But it's the expenses, the variable ones that change. So when I work with women and I ask the question, tell me about how much you're spending on food. And that's everything, right? Eating out, grocery budgets, snacks, coffees. A lot of people don't even know what that number is. So until you have some real awareness and a tracking system that works for you, I work with, people from all ages, backgrounds, demographics. So for some, it's like a little bit of old school pen paper or like checkbook recording. Others like to look at bank statements, but that's after the spending has already happened. So I
Hmm.
really encourage women and moms, like we're busy. We have that mental load. We can't think about tracking something else. So if you can automate the tracking, use an app that works for you. But in the beginning, you have to do those check-ins because if this is a new skill you're learning, you need to really have the like second set of eyes on, okay, it's the 27th of the month. Where am I at on these categories? And it's those variable ones that either make or break your budget. And
Hmm.
I've had people that have forgotten about subscriptions. So it could be something that maybe you opted into that service while you were on maternity leave and you no longer need it. Or items that are like annual, you pay for this app annually, you forgot. Or the kids use apps on your phone. So there's so many things. You can save anywhere from $80 to upwards of $300 just by looking at those subscription costs. So I would say that if you could just hone in on your expenses, see what it costs to run your household, and that's going to give you a clear picture before you really decide on making any big career changes.
Yeah, and I see, Anna, your question and comment about just debating leaving corporate, which brings in half of your household income, which I do hear this from many, many working moms. And yes, I very much empathize. It's very much a scary decision. And but at the same time, you're recognizing like your time, your energy is just drained. And I love that you have a daughter. I think selfishly, I wish that I had a daughter. I have three boys, and so I have a lot of like boy energy, right? And so I hear you when you say like you feel guilty to quit, but from what I assume, you just also want to be present and have that time. So I think, Erica, this is where I would love to learn from you. It's like, we as working moms who do have a majority of the stake of the finances, like, what is a financial skill that you wish someone had sat you down when you were younger, or even thinking about a career pivot? Like for
Sure.
women, what you would advise for women like Anna to think about if she were to make this career pivot?
Yeah. So the initial skill, the financial skill that I wish someone taught me when I was younger would be investing in a 401k or just any type of investing early. Because if you can do that in your 20s, compound interest will work for itself and your money will be growing. But what I wish somebody would have told me personally is save your money for a year off of maternity leave. Nobody told me that. And my company didn't offer any mat leave. So I only had 12 weeks off of disability pay. And then I had saved some PTO and sick time, but it really was never enough. And so, my response to, I believe you said it was Anna that had asked us.
Yes.
Yeah, I would really take a moment, even this weekend, right? Write down your skills. What are you good at? What do people come to you and ask you about? So if you are able to just invest in yourself and start thinking of how do I build out a personal brand? There are so many content creators just showing up and telling their story. And at some point, it takes a while because it didn't happen for me overnight. I've been showing up for 4 years and I just resigned yesterday. So I am here and I'm with you. It takes time, but knowing your numbers, investing in yourself, and finding a way to sell your services in a consulting capacity, you can still earn income and work around your availability, your schedule.
Yeah, and I think, Erica, that's such great advice. Anna, something that I did myself is, I had left corporate after almost 20 years. It was a really scary decision. I also have three boys under four. So, speaking of finances, definitely that is always something in the forefront or back of my mind, is thinking about how can we do this while also recognizing that for me personally, and again, I know not every working mom has the ability to just say, hey, I just want to quit, tomorrow and figure it out. Like, my husband and I and friends and advisors, I sat down and I did my own pen to paper, as
Yeah.
Erica had mentioned, is, what are the finances that we are comfortable for the next, we at the time of discussion was like the next year as well. And then what was it costing me in terms of my energy,
Mhm.
also recognizing that, even just driving the kids to daycare and back, like those are extra costs as well. Is there an opportunity for us to then figure out what is that timing and
Mhm.
approach, while also recognizing that from a mental health perspective, like, do you feel like you are getting or becoming a lot more grounded by doing this transition? And now, granted, this again, not every working mom, but a lot of working moms that I've had comments in my content have shared, hey, I left my job. There are trade offs,
Yeah.
but they have been a lot more grounded and they just feel a lot more at peace than the stress that they were in before. Now, granted, I think it's just so important for you specifically, Anna, because you asked the question, is really think through, what support do you need? What finances do you need to have in play? But it's also an identity shift too, is, for someone like myself who climbed the ladder in corporate, I didn't realize how much of an identity shift it was for me to say, like, I'm no longer the global leader at Airbnb. I'm now a working mom that is figuring out consulting, figuring out a career pivot, and being a lot more present with my children. It's a very different narrative than I was used to, um, kind of growing up. And so that's something as well that I realized that I needed to mentally get ready for too. And so I think that's a really good transition, Erica, is for me to just want to understand for you, like, we are all working hard as working moms because of our children. And so
Yeah.
what do you want your kids to see when they watch you build in this season and you quit your job yesterday. And so congratulations on this next
Thank
phase.
you.
Like, what's the lesson that you're writing for your children real time?
Oh my goodness, I could almost cry on this one, but really it's showing my daughters that when you're not invited to the table and you are not given promotion opportunities, you have an opportunity to build the damn table. So
Mm,
this has not been easy for me, and it has been a very tough situation ever since I returned from maternity leave. But I had two options. I could feel sorry for myself and stay stuck, or I can take the steps to move forward. So I didn't have a perfect plan. This has all been messy action in the making. I stay up late after bedtime. I was doing stuff over naps. And I wake up really early in the morning sometimes. And it's really just like because you have it all in your mind, those 3 a.m. wake ups, like, no, I want to go back to sleep and actually get some sleep. But I'm so determined to make this work. So it's the grit. It's yes, we're still ambitious. There's no ambition gap for working moms. We just want work to work for us. And
mhm,
so again, I have chills answering this question because I know my daughters see the time and effort, and I'm doing funny dancing, videos and stuff, and they're like, "Mom, I'm helping people learn about money." And now I just announced my own fractional HR consulting business. I would have never been able to do that if it wasn't for showing up and being my authentic self on Instagram, that I was able to make my official LinkedIn post and resign from my 9 to 5 just yesterday.
mhm. Yeah. And Erica, I'm sure, and we're seeing it in the comments, like, so proud of you. And
Thank you.
Crystal, yeah, you're so right. Is like entrepreneurial is messy. I think that right now, Erica, you mentioned it, is like the system, at least, and I'm only going to speak to my experiences being in corporate. You are a part of a system that now, as I reflect, it was never built for working moms. Like, after maternity, both of my maternity leaves, I like jumped on airplanes to be in meetings that I felt like, hey, in order to have a seat at that table, I needed to literally be around the world away from my three boys. And that was so hard. And I felt so guilty. But at the same time, you're so right, Erica, is that like the ambition is there and it's actually even stronger than before. But we
Oh
are
yeah.
also standing up for ourselves as working moms, being like, I worked this dang hard. Like, I'm going to go out there and do the life that I deserve in on my own terms. Is it going to be hard? Hell yeah. Is it going to be messy? Of course. Are there trade-offs? 110%. But I
Yes.
think the women that I've spoken to who have tried to plan out a potential career pivot or even a better way to just stay in the
Yeah.
current positions that they're in with different boundaries, like that has been a little bit of more of a slow game changer because then people are doing something about it. And that's another thing that I always talk about is like, tell a working mom that she can't do something and you better believe that she's going to show up. And I
That's
think
right.
that's the one thing that I would love for my kids to see is that, like, yes, working hard will make sense in different seasons, but you also will need to adjust and be flexible whenever life changes. And there are so many things that you will never be. And I think, especially as women, we try to like plan as best as we can, think about plan A to Z. And sometimes life is not built in that way. And we're just kind of catching all the balls that's flying in the air. And what I always tell people is figure out what your glass balls are and what your plastic balls are. And it's okay to drop the plastic balls, right?
Yeah.
And I also think it's just so important that we as women are being so thoughtful about how we spend our time and energy because that's what our children are going to see. They're going to see those
Definitely.
trade-offs. They're going to see where we're working hard. They're going to see a mama that like wants to still shine and still has that shine. And that we're being just really intentional about the choices of our lives versus just going through the motions.
100% definitely agree with that. And even it's just that mental load, right? We're the ones knowing the spirit weeks and buying the crafts and, doing the party planning and the party I mean, it's just so many things that happen. The doctor's appointments, the follow-ups, and then just like, how are you fully present anywhere, right? It's like, hey, send mom needs the vacation, or I just need,
Mhm.
a break or want to catch up on sleep. So Yes,
Yeah.
so thankful we're talking about this. And I know we have women watching in, three very different places. So some still have their corporate job, some are stay-at-home moms, and then others are just here and ready or wanting to know what they can build next. So, what's one thing that you would want each of them to hear today?
Yeah, I think you're so right. Is there's, and I talk about it a lot on my content, is there's these three types of working moms today. And I think what I see in the comments and even just in conversations with those who I mentor and coach is every woman is doing her own version of this quiet math where it's no longer just finances, it's really the identity, it's your energy, it's your time, but it's also your presence, right? And so if you are still in corporate, like Anna, I see is still in corporate, like you have been feeling that tension of questioning the setup, questioning the system. You climb so hard. Many of us who are millennials climbed that ladder, did the lean in thing. And then now you're like, wait a minute, am I alone in thinking the thoughts that I have? And it's clear to me that none of us are alone in these thoughts.
You're
We just
not
don't say it
alone.
out loud, right? And so, but that doesn't mean that that feeling means that you have to do anything drastic, right? Just, I think what I would love to share with women who are still in it, still in corporate, is just continue to be intentional about the choices that you're making because it will be worth paying attention to. I think for those who are stay at home moms and wondering, like, what's next? Like, I think that season also counts as well as like you're building skills that will translate and actually I've been meeting moms who were stay at home moms, now transitioned back to work. And they actually are so efficient, so productive in their time because they know here are my boundaries. This is what I need to do.
Mhm.
They're able to problem solve in real time and they have this huge emotional resilience because they've been at home with their kids. And so for the stay at home moms, like whenever you're ready, take that step that means the best for your time and energy to build the foundation that you want. And then I think the last working mom that I've also seen is the working mom that's making this career pivot, just like myself, is definitely take the time to try to move at your own pace that works for your current life season. I'm a mom of three under four. I right now cannot go 110% into all of the things because I have three small boys that need so much of my time and
Yeah,
energy and I've also been learning in real time that there's like no deadline that I
no,
have to chase, which I think is very
not at
different
all.
in terms of my mentality when I was climbing the ladder, where it was like, these were my milestones by 30, get to director by this, and like all of that. And so I think that it's something so special and meaningful as I'm going through this now is that you can build something meaningful without like recreating that same pressure um, and so those are just kind of the three pieces of advice. And so I think Erica, with you, would love to hear, what's kind of a piece of advice for those who are with us today that you would like for them to know about.
Yeah, so you can follow me on Prosperity Planning, where I talk all about money. And, if you have any questions and you're in one of those three buckets, DM me. I will totally answer. And, any questions you may have, I have tons of free digital downloads too. So even just 7 days of like a money mindset challenge is really helpful for some that are just getting started. You can use a calculator to really just see where you are in terms of your debt, how to pay that off. And then the last thing is a retirement calculator. Where are you at today and what are things you can do to reach your retirement goal? And for some, you will find that even two income households, sometimes when one steps away from the W-2 job, but then gets 1099 income, you've actually gotten some great tax savings. So there is something for everyone. It really just depends on your individual situation. So follow me, DM me. I also offer a free wealth clarity call to just answer any of your questions.
Well, thank you so much, Erica. I like love the fact that, well, and so many of my friends showed up today too. So thank you for joining us. It's just been a pleasure talking about, yeah, just the things that we as working moms have been doing. For myself, just I'm having great conversations and mentoring and coaching women thinking through, do I stay? Do I leave corporate? What do I do next in terms of a career pivot? And so if there's anything that we can both be of help, that's why I thought it was so great for Erica and I to have this conversation, is a part of the quiet math is finances, especially
Oh,
from many of the women that have shared kind of their feedback on this. So please do ask us any questions, reach out. And thank you so much, Erica, and happy Friday, everybody.
thank you.
Bye.